Hello and welcome to today's historic best of three. Got there in the end. Deck tech and gameplay video on Feather Heroic. Let me move that out of the way. Feather Heroic is basically a red-white list that relies heavily on Feather the Redeemed to effectively make use of not only the heroic cards we have access to, like Favored Hoplite, 10th District Legionnaire, which has practically heroic, and the new where's his name? New Heartfire Hero, where Valiant is like I'll say a worse version of heroic, but it's close enough to make the list. Using these three creatures, or four creatures, I guess you can also include Feather here. We want to cast any number of our like cheap 1 mana instant or sorcery buff spells on our creature. They give us a variety of utility, from just the occasional removal from things like Reckless Rage to protection from cards like Sheltering Light and God's Willing, to even a little bit of aggressive stats and some evasion and things like Ancestral Anger. And basically we play one or two of these creatures, and ideally with a Feather if you can, but you can't always manage to get that. And we play the creatures, buff the creatures, try to protect them with some of the protection spells, make them very big and very scary as they can all get. And then you just throw those creatures at your opponent's face and hopefully sort of outrun them. This is, at its core, an aggressive deck. And it's just an aggressive deck that works on like a weird angle, but a fun one, as evidenced by the fact that this is technically an update, so I guess we can call this, I think, like version 2. Do that. But beyond our creatures that care about having instants or sorceries cast on them, we also have not only the instant and sorceries themselves, but a very, very small amount of removal or interaction, since the deck sort of needs them here and there. 4 copies of Lightning Helix, again, can be removal, can be damage over the top, and Skyclave Apparition as a more general form of interaction. Granted, general is in quotation marks because it can't, hit things above 4 cost, but it's pretty good at interacting with most things. And beyond and I guess if you want to count a little bit of glue cards, we have 2 copies of Vance's Blasting Cannons as a form of card draw engine, and we can get it to flip if we can get the card to resolve and like stick around for more than a turn or two, due to all of the just 1 mana spells this deck has, and it has a bunch of them. So we can also have a sort of alternate win con in the Spitfire Bastion. But anywho, beyond the very basic aggressive shell, we just run a aggressive friendly land base, so any lands you have that come into play untapped on turn 1 will work just fine here. Also running some Ramanov Ruins, a Den of the Bugbear, just general utility lands and such that the deck can get access to, since it is nice to get a little bit of utility, air quotes, for free, since you're going to be running lands anyway. And that is the basics of the main board. Sideboard, pretty self-explanatory. Have some Path to Exiles if you need just like guaranteed creature removal against really big things that are a little bit bigger than what your interaction spells, what your limited interaction spells can actually hit. A couple Selfless Spirits to deal with a whole lot of like board wipes or destruction-based removal. Spirit's good for that. Thraben Charm can be either enchantment hate or it can be graveyard hate, but graveyard hate has not been the most useful thing, so that's why there's only 1 Thraben Charm in the sideboard, since it's not the most useful. And hey, sometimes you can also use, a charm for, in this case, the damage ability. Basically, charms are good because charms do charm things, where it gives you a lot of utility in 1 card. A couple White Orchid Phantoms for the like Gates decks of the world and stuff like that. And I guess if there are any other problematic lands that I can't think of as I sweat so much I melt into a pool, White Orchid Phantom is a good way to deal with those. Rampaging Ferocidon for life gain, Settle the Wreckage for a aggressive friendly board sweeper, a single copy of Chandra for counterspell heavy decks, and a single copy of Meltdown for artifact decks that are a little more go-widey. Again, artifacts and enchantments are largely not the most popular in my experience over the last couple of weeks of testing, so that's why there's only one answer for both of these in the list, in addition to, I suppose, you can count the Witch Enchanter. But anywho, that's the basics of the list. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions like, I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. With all that out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 1. And game number 1 with our little feather heroic aggro list. And we're going to go ahead and throw this back since we do want a 1-drop that's a creature ideally. And that'll work perfectly fine. Guess we can get rid of the Shatter Skull smashing. Especially early on, we're not even going to know if the interaction part of this card is going to be of any use. So in the meantime, favorite Hoplite. Go ahead and shock this in, play the Hoplite, see what our opponent's going to do. I will be honest, while I have done the normal 2 weeks of testing, Grixis something, usually Grixis Control is the only thing you really see. But my original point, while I have done 2 weeks of testing, the historic nerf that nerfed I want to say Galvanic Discharge, the 1-mana energy bolt thing, Guide of Souls, and the Ocelot Pride card thing just hit today, so I haven't had time to test in that environment. But I did have some amount of testing, over the last couple of weeks. So if it seems weird in the new meta, it's because the new meta hasn't had a chance to adjust. Anywho, Sunbaked Canyon. I guess we'll do a Defiant Strike and see what we draw. Nothing. Do an Ancestral Anger. One of the reasons why we run the Anger is that a lot of the 1-mana red combat buffs, they have 2 problems that Ancestral Anger does not. Late game, they lose their effectiveness, and while Ancestral Anger does fall off eventually, the clause of getting bigger based on however many Ancestral Angers are in your yard helps give a little more relevance over the long term. And also, you can't deny that a 1-mana combat trick in this deck that also draws a card is really, really big. It might not seem like a lot, but it really is. Anywho, Sacred Foundry, and we'll play the Heartfire Hero. I still maintain that I think it's unfortunate that they just didn't use actual heroic for this set. I don't think that the idea of heroism... That's unfortunate. I don't think the idea of heroism is a concept that should be exclusive to Theros. I think that's silly. I mean, for God's sake, it's Heartfire Hero. It's in the name. But whatever, that's a choice, I guess. Because it's not like heroics, at least in historic, good. I don't think I've seen anybody run a deck like this in months, if not, maybe a year. I mean, okay, at least now we know it's Grixis controlled. Before, you could have had some plausible deniability, but nope. There's probably that Nicol Bolas Dragon Guard card floating around. I don't know if Skyclave Apparition is going to see a whole lot of use here. Oh, is it? Oh, please. Please let it be Grixis Mercenaries. That'd be awesome. We are going to Lightning Helix this, since we have a clean target that we know will die. Apparition can, in theory, hit more things. That's why we're trying to save it. Guess we'll play a Pathway on white. No, not God's Willing. I thought that was a Defiant Strike. We're not going to do that. Yeah, it's fine. I was thinking about cracking the Canyon, but we might just do that at the end of their turn. See what our opponent does. They do nothing. Yeah, if they do nothing, we're just going to crack the Canyon. draw a card off of it. Since the deck is such a low curve, you rarely need more than like 3 or 4 lands, so you can afford to throw away some of the extra ones. He says, drawing another one. But sure, I guess. Okay, that's something. At least I have some interaction. But if they have another one of those edicts, giving protection doesn't really work against a sacrifice card. I mean, fingers crossed. They appear to have some sort of thing they can do, since the game actually like held priority for them. Cool. Honestly, we might just run the apparition as a body if they're not going to play anything. The only foretell card that sees play in blue is that draw scry 1. That's better. So we're going to hold off on the apparition. So yeah, I'm going to assume that it's the I think it's Behold the Multiverse, I think is the name of the card. There are like 2 foretell cards that see any play, and it's like just Doomscar and that Behold the Multiverse card. Nothing else sees play. Okay. They have some sort of... Again, they could have an edict. Pardon? Okay. Okay, I thought they were going to be like a Grixis Mercenaries thing, but they're... Gotta be honest. They're just like a Grixis control list that runs a single mercenary card. Like, kind of boring. Like, it's not saying it's good or bad. It's just a little bit underwhelmed on the expectations. Totally fine. I mean, fight as one is nice. I think we will, again, go back to playing the apparition. It's just a body. Okay, if nothing else, now it's just giving them time to activate their utility lands. To be honest, if they use a Drown on the Lock here, we kind of don't care. Yeah, we just sit here, wait for them to do something. Cool. See what they keep with the scry. If it's double on the bottom, means there's nothing they really wanted. Kept them both on top. Okay. Well, that's fun. Yeah, unfortunate. I thought they were going to be like a Grixis mercenaries, but they're just Grixis control. It's just fine. Might be boring, but it's fine. Luckily, we did draw the Legionnaire, so we can always go face here. Unless they counter it. Oh, saw it coming. Okay, sure. Nobody runs this card, but that isn't a legal option. I mean, Feather's nice. We keep on drawing bangers. We just gotta, like, have a card resolve. But the deck is doing good. It's not, like, doing poorly or performing bad. My money would be on another one of those Shieldred's Edicts that'll, like, get around our mini protection effects. I'd love to be wrong and it to be like a hardcore actual removal spell. But I would be very surprised. Oh, in that case, fucking God's willing all day long. I do have another one, which is very nice. If they go to counter the God's willing, I'll just play another one. Or we'll do a fight as one. Since there's a chance our scry 1 will just keep on the top anyway. And I think we can actually use the I guess black. Honestly, that's not bad. A little bit of redundancy. And now that the cards have actually hit the board, we have a little more, like, forms of interaction. They could just remove it right now, which would stink a lot. Kind of like that. Although, they are top decking, which is nice. And like we talked about, we did have another feather on top. So they have to get through, like, with one, possibly two cards. They have to, like, get through 3 layers of protection that I'm going to get back every turn. In that case, I am going to, before you go to end step, please let me do this game. Now it's fine. Favorite Hoplite, that's pretty good. Okay, what does this card do? Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to other things. At the beginning of the upkeep, exile top X cards of opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until the end of the turn, you may cast those spell. Cool. Depending on what they draw, if they like have more interaction, we can just win here. There's an argument that I should have kept back the Hoplite if they have like another extinction event, because that would just blow me out. So if I like really eat it there, then I kind of deserved it. I got a little excited and just like pulled the trigger a little more. That's actually not that bad. I can deal with that. Not gonna lie, it's probably one of the worst things our opponent could hit, but okay, probably gonna target the feather. But again, we God's willing all day long. We have many layers of protection. We can afford to be a little trigger happy with the removal at least. Protection from white, so it fizzles. Anger is a fantastic card. So that'll fizzle. Annoyingly, I won't be able to target it again upon further reflection. But even if they do, and they happen to get rid of the feather with like a Doomblade style murder card, we do just have a favorite Hoplite with a God's Willing and an Anger. It's like not bad. Kinda has to be said. Go ahead and draw. Guess we'll go ahead and Anger on... Well... Yeah, we'll go ahead and Anger on the Hoplite. Why not? There's an argument to try and just load it up all on the feather and hope he doesn't have removal spells, but we have the wiggle room to, like, make the smart play if this happens to go sideways. Because they... At minimum, they can just activate the castle and kill themselves, basically. That's fine. Go ahead. Okay, moving between phases, I'm gonna favorite Hoplite. I'm gonna cast God's Willing on the Hoplite. Tripped over my words there. Turn off full control. Protection from black. Right? I don't think it matters what happens then. If it resolves. Is that it? Some sort of interaction spell. Because I do have trample. So we go over the top a little bit. But it will be enough. There we go. Deck is largely a control deck, and they do run some... Because, yeah, sack effects won't care about a Selfless Spirit. They run a whole lot of basics. No, but, like... They're not, like, important lands. They just are lands. Maybe, like, a single Chandra, and maybe, like, one Apparition comes out. Since they haven't really been using a whole lot of it. And hopefully, if we need to get to the point where we need to resolve a Chandra, we can use the emblems from the upticks to, like, put a hard clock on the game. Because, I mean, Grixis has access to many things, but a whole lot of good life gain is very rare. Especially in a list like theirs, where it's, like, very, like, traditionally control-y, if that makes sense. But feeling good. What is that noise I hear? Oh, is it the water from his... Okay. From his little buddy. Which is fine. Totally cool. Everything's cool. I do apologize if you hear me fanning myself, but it's actually over 100 degrees with the heat index, and I'm melting. Like the Wicked Witch, so... Perfectly good opening hand. Hoplites are Heartfire heroes. I guess actually we'll play the hero first. Since they haven't been showing a whole lot of combat damage that I need to be worried about with their deck. Although now we can just do both. Yeah. Do a Hoplite. This way we have answers if they say have another edict or something, and we get to keep one of our creatures. Perfectly fine. Okay. I don't think our opponent needed to do that. Although they did show themselves not to be terribly able to penetrate the defenses past the on the stack stage. Yeah, they had some sweepers. Yeah, they had some counter spells, but not enough to really deter me. So in matchups like this, you just sort of have to do the answer to really heavy interaction spells, or interaction spell heavy decks, I should say, is just to take it a little slow. Don't ever run more than 2 creatures, maybe 3 at a time. 3 is even beginning to push it. So really, if you can keep it ideally around 2, maybe 3 if the third is a feather, and just be very aware of your resources and your speed and try to at least get some sort of feel for what your opponent can and can't do. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy this list. It's very interactive and very much so rewards some degree of understanding. Since, not for nothing, pretty much all Grixis controlled decks more or less play the same, even though they might run weird cards like that mercenary bird dude from Thunder Junction. Anywho, with that out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 2. And game number 2 with our little Feather Heroic list. And we'll go ahead and throw this back since it doesn't really have any creatures early on. And this is good enough that we'll just have to take it. Advances can go back. With any luck, we'll draw a 1-drop. But alas, it's not meant to be. Control deck? Guess we just play the Legionnaire and go face some white removal spell. Assume nothing. Oh, it's affinity or whatever, or some tempered steel kind of thing, which is fine. Okay, that's less fine. I guess in that case, we'll go ahead and get rid of the Ingenious Smith while we have a moment. Since that can quickly grow out of the range of our interaction spells ability to mess with. That's certainly a card. Yep, still very certainly a card. In that case, we'll play a Feather. And we'll have to just use the Reckless Rage immediately to get rid of the Nettle Cyst, while it actually can answer it. Yeah, they're going to get a card draw out of the Esper Sentinel, but gotta try and get rid of it while we can. Luckily, we do get it back, though, so there is that. That makes sense. Equipping that is totally normal. I think I can just eat the 5. Ah, the yard work in the background. Sure, we'll play a canyon, play a hero. Damn. That's about all one can hope to do. In that case, I think we'll... guess we'll go ahead and do Feather now. Yeah, I can't even pay the cost even if I wanted to. Okay, what are we doing here? That's fine. I don't think that... I mean, it sucks because... okay, that really sucks, actually. I mean, okay. Go ahead and play the Feather. Probably going to have to start jump blocking. Or the artifact count is going to get so high, we're not going to have an option to do anything else, really. Another Nettle Cyst. Getting rid of my blockers. I think that's us dead. Yeah, we don't come back from it. It's cool. They just had back-to-back removal against our aggressive deck. There's not much we can hope to do. Meltdown's cool. Some Path of Exile's cool. Reckless Rage is too situational. Same thing with Lightning Helix. I think that's all. Yeah, that's good enough. I have to be honest, I actually don't think I've seen like a blue-white artifacty aggro list in all of the testing with this list. Yeah, it's been like, yeah, it must have been a couple of weeks, if not more. Oh well. The Hoplight's a little better in a list like this. So we'll go ahead and keep this hand. Hopefully we'll draw more lands and this will smooth out. But if nothing else, we have a white mana source and a couple things to do. Go ahead, Pathway of White, and the Hoplite. The God's Willing isn't going to be great against some of their, like, yeah, their colorless sources. Sure. Okay, that's technically what I asked for. I can't super complain. Nah. I wanted to attack, but they just let that damage through, as they should. Of course they have the Foundry, because every one of these lists has this Foundry. I mean, it certainly is a card. A red source, please? Okay, that's better. Alright. Yeah, might as well attack now. We're quickly running out of a reason to, like, engage with this. Yep, and sacrifices it, makes 4/4, and blah 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 blah. Take your land. And your card. I don't even care if you take it. Oh, please have a counterspell. Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, it's not what I expected to happen, but if I can draw that Meltdown and some red sources, like, we'll be kind of okay. Yeah. I'm in a really, really bad spot. I guess I can try and path it again. If they have another one, honestly, you're probably gonna have a counterspell for it again. Okay. At least it went through this time. Yeah, just go face now. Just try and claw back a win. Okay, red source would be nice. That's not a red source, but it might get me one. Go ahead and take your card draw. It's already, we're not looking great. Oh boy. Another very useful card. Like 2 mana to make one. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Cool. Right, then he chumps, then he blocks with it. I mean, yeah, good on you. I don't have a whole lot of artifact removal on the sideboard, because decks like this just don't show up. They largely got pushed out by, what's it called? By all of the, like, red-white energy decks that were floating around, so you just didn't see these decks for, like, a long time. But, you know, now that red-white energy has been nerfed and the meta's in a more healthy place... Oh, we're... Okay, we're not exactly dead, but we're basically dead. And that's fine, you know, you will have some list. And honestly, this is, like, one of the reasons why I want... Oh, they do have, a bounce spell? Okay, yeah, we're just dead. Or odds are we're just dead, I don't know for certain. But my original point was going to be, one of the rough points about this list is that, like, it just... It's like a worse version of like an Izzet Wizards deck. A deck that like has legs to it and like sees play and can do good. That helps. I can play the Hoplite as a body now. And then we're just going to Lightning Helix the Smith and try and claw our way back in here. But my original point was that while the deck might have gotten like a new card in like the Heartfire Hero or whatever, it's just like a worse performing version of like an Izzet Wizards, like on all fronts. There's like way less synergy, your payoffs aren't even that good. It's just like not a good time. And I want the deck to be good. It can be fun. Oh god. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say we are alive, but that's very quickly going to change. We've probably lost this unless we draw like a sideboard card now. Okay, yeah. All we can hope to do is just draw cards and try and live. Yeah, that helps. It's something. I don't know how much it's going to matter, though, because I think they have enough damage on board to get through, right? I block 2 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, I'm just dead on board. There's no way around it. So yeah, and these two games have been a really good showcase for the deck in that, like, it's fine. It's not great, though. Like, you will struggle for wins, but you can get them, and it's not like a 10% win rate list, but it's like the 30s or something like that, 30s or 40s. Like, you can climb to the middle point of the ladder, but you can't go any higher than that with a list like this. And I want it to be good. Sadly, it's not. So this is probably going to be one of the first decks in a while that unless we get like a absolute load of cards for this particular list, I honestly don't think I'm going to revisit it. And I would honestly tell you to not craft any cards in this deck. So yeah, if you were wondering if like a heroic list that was at one point in time like actually kind of popular is still viable today, I don't think it is. Granted, it might be an issue of, you know, my terrible skill, which is possible, or a bad build, also very possible. But I just don't think it has the tools to like really succeed. It's got less synergy and it's less explosive than like an Izzet Wizards list, and there are better pure aggressive decks in the format, whether like you're even, you know, like an Elves aggro list, or even the nerfed energy aggro is still better than a list like this, or Boros Energy aggro is still better than a list like this, unfortunately. And it's just, and yeah, you can like fiddle with some sideboard cards, but I think the problem is just systemic, unfortunately. But yeah, anywho, that's all for this particular video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like my videos if you like them. Subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, as I trip over my words. And if you have any sort of questions, like, I don't have X, what about Y? Even though, again, I would recommend you not play this list, but hey, if you do have questions, I'll try to be nice and respond in ways that I can. Or if you have any other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.